Stop right there. Yeah, you. If you like all things entertainment, current events, or Hollywood, then look no further. Creator to Creators, hosted by director Meosha of Horror Noir, interviews filmmakers and creatives from around the world. Join in on the fun, guest celebrities, and informative information to have as a creator. Hit subscribe and stay connected to Creator to Creators.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Creators to Creators today. Today, we have a special guest.
Richard Peshkin.
Welcome to the show.
You.
So, I love when I talk to people, I love going back to the beginning. I always say that the beginning kind of charts, our trajectory. The things that our habits like we pick up kind of somehow follows us when we're older into our adulthood. So tell me a little bit about your childhood and kind of how did you find your way into what you're doing now?
Well, when my father went off to fight in the Civil War, I was very young. No, yes, about my childhood. I might be a little older than some of your guests, so I just want you to be aware of that. My childhood was in a place called New Jersey, and
Nice.
I actually was told when I was about 6 years old, you probably should become a doctor when you get to be a big boy. And my mother had a strong hold on me, and that's eventually what I actually did. But in my heart, I was always a composer, and music always won over my heart and soul. But I paid a lot of bills being a doctor.
Nice.
Uh, yeah, but I did. I wrote my first song that was copyrighted, at least when I was 10 years old.
Wow.
It was called Nadine. It was named after my sister. I used to fight with her like cat and dog. I don't know why I would ever write a song about her. But the only thing about that song that's funny is because Chuck Berry ended up having a song called 18 Years Later. And in those days, you couldn't have the same title. So he actually had to put in parentheses, Nadine, is it you? So I always felt good
Mm.
about the fact I had to screw up, his life a little bit by adding the "is it you?"
Right. I love that.
What else would you like to know? I mean, I'm not a young
Everything.
kid, so we could we could be here a long time. So anyway, um, you know, I was very athletic when I was young. I played, little league baseball. I played basketball, and sports and music were my two loves. I started taking piano lessons, when I was a young teenager, and music filled a big void in my life as I was an adolescent. 13, 14 years old, when I would have liked to have been starting to go out on dates. I'd stay home on Saturday night and write lots of songs about loneliness and heartbreak and angst. And that took care of a lot of psychotherapy my parents didn't have to pay for.
Right.
And I used to write these songs on Saturday night, every Saturday night. And then on Sunday, I played for my mother and father. And my mom would have this look on her face of abject, not fear. I mean, she would, wince because of, oh, why do you bang so loud? Why do you sing so loud? So you could see she wasn't very encouraging. She wanted me to be a doctor so much, I guess, even if the music was good. She wanted me to pursue other ventures. So I ended up going to a prep school in New York, and I took some composing courses with a Austrian musician, and I really got nothing out of it. He and I just didn't get along, and turned out it was a good thing because 20 years later, when there was a scandal at that school, he was the head pedophile of the
Oh my
scandal.
goodness. Wow.
Yeah, so I guess I
Wow.
wasn't cute enough, which was good at the time. And then, in terms of my medical career, I practiced medicine in Florida in a lovely community called Coral Springs, Florida, which
Okay.
is, yeah, it's near Fort Lauderdale. It's kind of in between Fort Lauderdale and Palm Beach.
Nice. Yeah, I'm originally from Florida, so yeah,
Yeah, I
definitely.
saw you were from Gainesville, actually, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I had an unfortunate incident there. My father-in-law got helicoptered there years, a long time ago when he was ill. And he was treated at Shands there, and it was, a dark period of our lives. But I did spend a week in Gainesville, and I couldn't wait to get the hell out of there. But
Right. Yeah.
you would probably know about that. And
Yeah.
as far, I mean, do you want me to just talk about the music mostly, or whatever?
I really like that, just honestly, I think it just says something about like, like for me, it's when I was a kid, I always thought, I wanted to be in film, because I rented the Alfred Hitchcock series one summer when I was a kid, and I just fell in love with cinema, and that's kind of how I started the whole road to. So for my question to you is like when you like, how did you know that you wanted to do this? Was it like somebody that you saw a movie or a soundtrack, or that kind of was like, yeah, this is what I
Well,
wanted?
I, it's interesting. I actually used television a lot as a vehicle for friendship when I was younger. My favorite shows were Dr. Kildare, and I became absolutely insanely devoted to a show called The Fugitive, and still my favorite show of all time. And I used to say, "What a great life!" He was running from town to town. He'd hook up with a woman every week. The police would finally get close to him, and he'd go to another town, hook up with another woman, and he'd never get caught, obviously, because the show would end. So I think I lived a lot of fantasy living through television, probably more than the movies. I still am an incredible television addict now that we have Netflix and Hulu and Paramount Plus and blah, blah, blah. I mean, it's easy to watch television 5, 6 hours a day and see original stuff. So, and it's pretty eliminated a lot of my movie going as of recently, at least. But I think I had a fairly substantial fantasy life through, the characters I related to on television. So that really filled up probably a lot of lonely time because by going to a private school, I didn't necessarily have that many friends. And
Mm,
so the TV and the movies really were the characters and everything. And of course, the music was a way, of course, of trying to get girls. And if you had a girlfriend, to keep a girlfriend, because, girls like it when you write songs for them. I think if it depends. If you look at some of the songs I've written, maybe they do, maybe they don't. But getting back to TV and movies, I would say I watch an inordinate amount of television. If you add sports to the mix, I probably spend a good part of my life watching television, sitcoms for sure,
mm.
and even to this day, I remember some of my favorite shows. Uh, I liked them better back in the day, probably than a lot of the shows I watch now. The Chicago Meds and the SVUs and all that stuff. And
Oh yeah.
I loved Mac PI. All those characters that had strong male leads in particular. I tried to relate to. I'm tall, dark, and handsome, so it's kind of easy for me. You're not laughing at me.
I love that. I love that. So I'm curious, and I read your bio, and I really just think I love that you, the world that needs music, that the title track. I mean, it's perfect because I think music makes the world go round, and it connects, and it definitely connects us. And I really like what you said about how it just unites, everyone. And now that we're in such a time that it feels like the world's such like divided, all these things are happening around the world. We need something to like kind of get away from all the all of that, the negative or agenda or whatever that's going on out there in the world. So this is great when I listened to it, I loved it. It was just beautiful. What was
Well,
the
thank you very much. Thank you very
Yeah,
much, by the way.
for sure. Thank
Uh,
you. What was I don't know, what was your inspiration behind it? And Tell me about the process of making that.
Well, having written literally hundreds of songs in my life, every song seems to have a germ that, creates a bigger idea, and you go from there.
Yeah.
It's no secret that when I was a kid, I was totally infatuated with Burt Bacharach, and I would spend hundreds of hours listening to Dionne Warwick albums.
Oh,
I knew
wow.
every word,
Love her.
every chord. I mean, I knew everything there was to know about his music. And, my fantasy life was, I was going to be, Burt Bacharach light, because I knew there was only going to be one Burt Bacharach in this world. And, in 1963, he wrote a song called What the World Needs Now is Love, True Love.
Mm,
And at the time, it took a while for that song to actually take hold. He apparently put it in a cabinet or something, and, finally took it out. And it became an anthem for its time.
mm,
And it's been recorded hundreds, if not thousands of times. And it created, I'm sure, good feelings at the time. But I said to myself that time has come and gone.
right.
And, now we need something else. Uh, we need another anthem. We need something that children can sing in grammar school, middle school, high school, college bands, everywhere. The need for a unity, a song that makes you feel absolutely hopeful and creates healing and harmony. We needed that, and there
Mhm.
wasn't anything there but all kinds of bizarro stuff and dancing stuff and repetitive stuff. It's all fine, don't get me wrong, but it's not inspiring. Um, you know, when I wrote this song, as soon as it was done, I said to my wife, if only I had a vehicle for this song to get out to the public, because when you sing this song, it absolutely makes you feel connected.
Yes.
And, it has a nice lilt, like what the world needs now had. It has a lot of harmonies, which was intended because of the harmony I wanted to spread through the song. And you just feel when you hear the words and when you sing the song, you just feel really good and really connected. And it was a song that it wasn't an easy song because I wanted it to be just right. I
Right.
wanted each word to be right. Sometimes you write a song and you know that some of the words aren't going to matter because the song may not have a long half life. I felt this song might have a very long half life, so I wanted every chord, every syllable to be exactly the best word or feeling that I could conjure up. I mean, for example, I used different adjectives talking about the world. It's an angry place, it's a lonely place, it's a scary place to be.
Right.
And I probably could have found three or four other ones, but those three, angry, there's so much anger. Loneliness is some people feel so disconnected,
Hmm.
and also scary because a lot of people feel afraid to leave their environs and go, downtown or the mall or wherever. And, I don't know that a song's going to heal all that or anything,
Hmm.
but it just makes you feel like there's a hope there, uh, much the way I feel when I watch a Super Bowl and I see, people line up together as teammates. Doesn't matter where they're from, what country, what color, what anything. And that's the beauty of the music, and that's the beauty of the song, that you could sing it in a chorus with all kinds of people singing it together and smiling at each other,
Yeah.
feeling no hate, feeling no differences, but feeling the similarity of loving the song. So, and I guess I'm very long-winded about it, but I really feel it's an important song. And I guess that's why I wanted it written. And I want it, hopefully, to be sung with joy and
Yes.
togetherness.
And you did just that. You did just that. I think, I mean, it couldn't be a better time for this because, like I said before, just like the music world now today, it feels like, I guess, and I'm in my 30s, but I remember, like, I mean, now it just feels like music just doesn't, it's not united anymore. It doesn't feel like it's connecting us. It's more like, if I'll feel good, like it's like, it talks about money and sex. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it's just, it doesn't feel like it's not the music it was back in the day, where it just felt like music was more connected and had um a better agenda versus now. Do you feel like the music world is changing for the better?
I think once you reach a certain point in anything, it's always going to, turn around a little bit.
Mm.
And when you reach a point where you have I don't know, what was it, that whip song or whatever they played at the Super Bowl last year?
Oh.
I don't even want to, I don't want to say what it represented, but we both know. And once you have so much depravity and
Right.
so much, you have no filters. Everything that you want to say, you just say, because guess what? They may actually like it.
Mhm.
It actually may garner an audience. And it's funny because, look, do I want to write in obscurity? Absolutely not. Um, would I write certain things that would be a little outside my comfort level to get garner an audience? Yeah, I think I would. Would there be no limit? No, there would always be a limit. I'll give you an example, Meosha. I wrote a song on the album. It's the second song, and it's called "Shut Up."
Mhm.
And I don't know if you saw the video.
I did.
I really, really. Oh, okay, cool. And one of the lines toward the end was, "If you're not quick, I'm going to, well, you're going to lose your dick." Um, now, come on. In this day and age, that's not exactly, the worst thing you could ever write. But for me,
Right.
really, I really thought about it a long time because, it's funny. Hal David, who was to me the greatest lyricist who ever lived, who wrote with Burt Bacharach, he said he never wrote anything dirty because
Mm.
if dirty, it was cheap. You could write better without using any bad words or any whatever. So if you're not quick, you'll lose your dick. For me, was a little tough. It was
Yeah.
a stretch. But if you saw the video, I think it was funny.
Right.
I hope it was
It
funny.
was. It was. I totally
And
get it.
I don't think the line I crossed was that wide, but there was a little, for me, it was a little bit of a crossing. But getting back to your question, I think that things have to turn in another direction. Whether they're doing it right now, I mean, if you look at movies right now,
Mhm.
I think the amount of frontal nudity has
Mm.
become much, much more out there. Graphic stuff. I don't think movies can go too much further. I mean, unless well, you do horror movies, right?
I do. I do.
One of my good
I do. We
friends.
had an actual, like, a nude scene in the film. It actually just came out. It's called Project Paranoia. I AD'd and also act in it, in this, aided with my company, directed by Francesco Monti. Um, we had a scene. Well, it just made sense. Um, the actor, I was like, "Are you comfortable with nudity?" And I've never done it before, ever, in all of my years of working in film. But it just seemed like it would be more creepier, and it kind of, you know, more bizarre. And I think it worked. It was a split second, but it was not frontal. It was more like, just there was a few times, and I asked him, and he was like, sure, if I trust you. And I'm like, cool. And we took, care of the actor, and he was, professional. Everyone was good, great about it. But yeah, I think that for me, that was, it wasn't in like oh, like I'm trying to get I don't know, like attention or something. It was more like it caused for, I think in that particular moment, it made sense, you know.
Well, you see, that sounds like a well thought out idea and probably works great, I'm sure. I think a lot of it is gratuitous. And I think that when a lot of people say go to a movie, they almost have a hunger to see skin and to see sex scenes.
Right.
And almost as if to say, well, on TV, I can get good stories, but I can't see, nudity, and I can't see simulated sex and things like that. And I'm not a prude. I'm far from a prude. And it doesn't really bother me. And quite frankly, I enjoy a lot of sex scenes in movies too. So, I mean, it's just that when it's so gratuitous and the plot is so weak, it doesn't substitute for a weak plot.
Right.
And that's what I think happens sometimes, where the story is not that good, but they feel, well, we can cover that up by showing this hot chick, making love to this hot guy, and whatever, and they'll forget about that. That the story
it doesn't feel earned or something like that. It's like, oh, okay.
Well said. Well said. It doesn't feel earned. I like that.
I have a fun question for you.
Sure.
And I love. There's no wrong answer, but I'm just curious of what you're gonna say. This is always a fun one for me to ask. If you could be managed by any artist, living or dead, who would it be and why?
You're talking about, could it be a singer, composer, or something?
Sure.
Or okay.
Anyone in the entertainment business.
I would have to say, oh God, what's that guy from Arista Record that's made stars out of everybody? I just drew your cousin. No, your cousin.
Oh, Clive
Davis.
Oh yeah, good one.
Look, he had a knack of picking out winners, for the sake of lack of a better word, and he could see a Whitney Houston, and boom, he knew. He could hear even a Barry Manilow song, boom, he knew. And I think there's a lot to be said for someone who has an ear for the public, that's as exquisite as his was. So I would definitely say him for sure.
That's a great one. I mean, yeah, you're right. Clive did. I mean, he has amazing resume, and I mean, I think he's still doing it. He's still around, and I think it's pretty cool to see. Also like asking this question as well. The 3 levels of influence: money, power, or respect. If you only could choose one of those, which one would you choose and why?
My wife's sitting here, and she said respect.
Love it.
I would probably say power. I have, look, I'm at a stage where I'm very self-reflective,
Right.
and sometimes you are what you are. You're not necessarily are what you'd like to be, and unfortunately, I have I think maybe a hypertrophic ego at times, and I think having the power to be respected. How's that sound?
I like that.
Yeah. So I mean, where maybe you earn the respect through the power you've accumulated, but I really when you say power too, I don't mean like lording over people or anything like that.
Right.
I mean more like the power of having visibility, of people not only listening to your music, but absolutely loving your music, buying your music, telling your friends about you. There's a power to that coincides with respect for sure, but it's another level of respect where maybe when you go to the Super Bowl, you're not exactly Taylor Swift, but they still shine the light on you in the press box or something like that. That's a little more than respect. All right, I'm a bad guy.
I love that. I agree. I think sometimes you have to. A lot of people say respect, and I think that's a great answer, and I think it's a wonderful. There's no wrong answer. I think I think I would choose power too, because it's like the influence, like you know, in order to move, right, you have to have some power to move the needle, to change things. Without it, you know, it's like um you know, because I mean, you're not going to meet everyone that
Oh,
you know what I mean, listens to your music, or it's impossible to know if they respect you. But I think if you have, you know, good morals and you're just, I think it that's automatic.
well, yeah, I just thought of another thing where the power would really play a nice role. It'd be like, calling somebody up and say, I've got a ballad that is so amazing. And I know you have this type of movie. This ballad would be absolutely perfect for your movie. Boom, it's in the movie because
In the
I've got
movie.
power. Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah. It would really, yeah. That's where I maybe the power would be the best aspect of it.
Yeah.
The fact your work wouldn't have to be bartered and traded and,
Mm.
sell your birthright. It would be kind of appreciated and, oh, that's a Peshkin song. We'll put it in the movie because he writes good stuff. Yeah, that
Hmm.
that would be a power I would really like. Yeah.
I love that.
Mm.
What keeps you going?
Um, Part of it, of course, is, I have a fairly large family now with, children and grandchildren. I so want them to be proud of me,
Oh.
and respect the fact that uh, I've had a dream, and the dream's had a lot of shortcuts and short circuits, and hasn't necessarily gone from A to B directly, but I stuck with it. I'm prevailing to some degree, I hope a large degree, and I'm doing it, and I'm actually becoming a better person doing it. So it's a win-win situation for me, because a little success that I'm having right now is actually not making it's not giving me a bad power, it's giving me a good power where I'd want to use what I get out of it, for good things. Maybe set up a trust fund for a grandson, things like that. You know, so I don't know. It's just it just motivates me. When you have a fairly large ego, and you read nice things about yourself, and people love your music. I mean, I
Yeah.
can't say it's not a huge motivating factor. If I looked at YouTube and I saw 15 comments and they were all bad, I would probably find a nice mountain to jump off, and like the heroine did in my video, "It's a long way down." Because I don't know how great I would be reacting to the realities of people writing negative things. I did a musical comedy a few years ago at a local playhouse, and we had just two reviews, and they just barely mentioned the music I wrote, and they did in a kind of disparaging way, and
Hmm.
I felt I wanted to kill both of these people, really. I mean, they're just freaking lucky. I had no means of finding out where they lived or anything,
Yeah,
because I thought they were so wrong. It wasn't that wasn't personal. I just thought they missed the whole point. But all right,
right.
that comes with the game.
It comes with the game, exactly. I've had some moments where it's like you just wonder, like, oh, are people actually watching the thing? And it's like they'll comment on something completely different, or and you're just like, because I take my art really seriously, and you know, I love what I do, and I think a lot of artists, whether it's composing music, you know, or singer, whatever, I think that, you know, sometimes, like you said, it comes with the business. Sometimes you're gonna get those people that don't really you know, really take your stuff seriously, and that's just what it is. But yeah, I love that. I love that you love what you do. Now, a lot of people that listen to the show, a lot of people love to ask, like, you know, how do you get into doing it? Like, any advice for those that are trying to be a composer, trying to get into the entertainment world? What advice would you give them?
Well, one would be to really try to have a realistic self appraisal, so that even though you might want to be good or commercial or whatever it is, you don't want to waste too many days, weeks, months, and years in something you may not be particularly terrific at, or commercial at, or whatever it is, so that there should be some expiration date on what you want to do with it. Another thing in my case was to find somebody who really took my music to the next level. And quite honestly, I would have been very successful in music at a much, much younger age if I'd found this gentleman before. He's an incredible arranger, producer. I want to give him his due. His name is Mick James. And, he and I work very well together. And I'd have to say, as totally much of an egomaniac as I am, I give him 80% of the credit for the product we do, because he really, really is extraordinary at interpreting my music in the studio. So I would, in answer to your question, if you're doing this and you're really serious about it, find people around you who can enhance what you're doing and take it to the best level. Or you'll do what I did for many years, which is, just write songs for your daughters and, ha ha ha, it's very nice, daddy, and although I must say I've written hundreds of songs for my beautiful wife, who's been an inspiration from the time we were both 19 years old. So,
oh my God, that's amazing.
Yeah, I would say that if I had just written for her, one level of my musical satiation would have been appreciated. The fact that I wrote a lot of heartfelt music for her for many, 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 many years. So I thank her for that.
I love that. No, this is great advice. Thank you so much for sharing that. I love hearing that. Where can people find you on social media to follow you and everything that you have going on?
Well, the usual, TikTok and Instagram and Facebook. To be honest with you, Meosha, I am functionally illiterate, that stuff. I guess at some point I need to either hire somebody or Spotify, of course, YouTube. But in terms of, whenever I get messages and stuff like that on TikTok or Instagram, I have no idea to even how to find them or do anything.
Yeah, it's a lot.
I'm like Dirty Harry, in the old days with Clint Eastwood, they used to call him a dinosaur or whatever. So, but that part of it, I guess at some point will become more important. Right now, getting the music into people like your ears and your consciousness is so important to me. The fact that we want people to listen to the album on Spotify.
Yes.
Richard Peshkin, the world needs music.
That's right. That's right.
In case anyone forgot, did I say Richard Peshkin, the world needs music? I think I said that. But the other social media stuff, I'm going to probably have to deal with it at some point if there's a reason to, and we have presences on there. But I'm so out of how to deal with that. I guess I'll learn. But right now, the answer is we have all those things. And if people want to write nice things on Instagram, even though I probably won't find them, I appreciate it.
Right. Thank you so much for coming on. It was a pleasure to chat with you. And for all those that are listening, go and listen, support, and write very nice things.
Thank you so much. And I look forward to not only seeing your latest movie, but some of your past movies now that I'm aware of you.
Thank you. Thank you so
Absolutely.
much. Yes.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time, and come back anytime. And thank you all for listening. And always remember to live, love, laugh. We see you guys next time.